Hello, this is Capture Fail, and I'm going to do a bardic reading of parts of the Silmarillion, the parts concerned with Melkor and Ungoliant. What I mean by a bardic reading is the kind of oral tradition by which the works of Homer were passed on for centuries. It won't be a word-for-word rendition or memorization of Tolkien's text. But it will be close enough to be an effective telling of those stories and still bring out the language of Tolkien. And it's his language that has made this memorization for me quite easy. Now, blindfolds can be transparent, so to demonstrate that I'm not reading, I'm simply going to close my eyes. When Manwë heard of the ways Melkor had taken, it seemed plain to him that he purposed to escape to his old strongholds in the north of Middle-earth, and Orome and Tulkas went with all speed northwards, seeking to overtake him if they might. But they found no trace or rumour of him beyond the shores of the Teleri, in the unpeopled wastes that lay nigh to the grinding hills of ice. Thereafter the watch was redoubled along the northern fences of Aman, but to no purpose, for ere ever the pursuit set out, Melkor had turned back and in secrecy passed away far to the south. South of the Peluri was an empty land in twilight, save only for forgotten Avathar upon the dim waters of the pathless sea. There the Valar were not vigilant, and there, in ages long before, Ungoliant had made her abode. The Eldar knew not whence she came, though some have said that she descended from the darkness that lies about Arda, in that time when Melkor first looked down with envy upon the kingdom of Manwë, and that in the beginning she was one of those that he corrupted to his service. But she had disowned her master, desiring to be mistress of her own lust. In a ravine she lived, and took shape as a spider of monstrous form. There she sucked up all light that she could find, and spun it forth again in webs of strangling gloom, until no light more could come to her abode, and she was famished, for she hungered for light and hated it. Now Melkor sought her out. But when Ungoliant heard the design of Melkor, she was torn between lust and great fear, for she was loath to dare the perils of Aman and the power of the dreadful lords, and she would not stir from her hiding. Therefore Melkor said to her, "Do as I bid, and if thou hunger still when all is done, then I shall give thee whatsoever thy lust may demand, yea, with both hands." Lightly he made this vow, as he ever did, and he laughed in his heart. Thus did the great thief set his lure for the lesser. That's excerpt 1. I seem to be still recording. Now we'll move on to the next chapter, where Melkor has stolen the Silmarils and killed Feanor's father, Finwë, and Feanor declares that his name from then on will be Morgoth, the black foe of the world. So that name is used in the next chapter. Morgoth and Ungoliant drew near to his old strongholds in the north of Middle-earth, and she knew that here he would seek to escape her. So she stayed him, demanding that he fulfill his promise. "Black heart," she said, "I have done thy bidding, but I hunger still." "What wouldst thou have more?" said Morgoth. Dost thou desire all the world for thy belly? I did not vow to give thee that. I am its lord. Not so much, said Ungoliant. But thou hast a great treasure from Formenos. I will have all that. Yea, with both hands thou shalt give it. Then Morgoth surrendered to her the gems that he bore, one by one and grudgingly, and she devoured them, and their beauty perished from the world. Huger and darker yet grew Ungoliant, but her lust was unsated. With one hand thou givest, with the left only, she said. Open thy right hand. In his right hand Morgoth held close the Silmarils, and though they were in a crystal casket, they had begun to burn him, and his hand was clenched in pain, but he would not open it. Nay, he said, thou hast had thy due, for with my power I put into thee thy work was achieved. I need thee no more. These things thou shalt not have, nor see. I name them unto myself forever. But Ungoliant had grown great, and he less by the power that had gone out of him. And she arose against him, and enmeshed him in a web of clinging thongs to strangle him. Then Morgoth set forth a terrible cry, which echoed in the mountains. And all who cried aloud in that place thereafter awoke the echoes of the cry. Deep in forgotten places that cry was heard. Far beneath the vaults of Angband, in vault to which the Valar in the haste of their assault had not descended, Balrogs lurked still, awaiting ever the return of their lord. And now swiftly they arose, and passing over Hithlum as a tempest of fire, they came to Lamoth. With their whips of flame they smote asunder the webs of Ungoliant, and she quailed and turned to flight, belching forth black vapours to cover her. She fled to that valley which was after called Nan Dun Gortheb, the valley of dreadful death, because of the horror that she bred there. For other foul creatures of spider form had dwelt there since the days of the delving of Angband. And she mated with them and devoured them. And her brood long troubled the world. Of the final fate of Ungoliant no tale tells, though some have said that she perished long ago when, in her uttermost famine, she devoured herself at last. Morgoth returned to Angband, and he delved anew his vaults and dungeons, and raised again the threefold peaks of Thangorodrim. There countless became his beasts and his demons, and the race of the orcs, bred long before, grew and multiplied in the earth. Morgoth made for himself an iron crown, and called himself King of the World. In token of this he set the Silmarils in the crown. That crown he never took from his head, though its weight became a deadly weariness, nor was he ever free of the pain of the burning and the anger of the pain. He retained ever his form as a dark lord, tall and terrible, and before his face all save the mightiest sank into a deep pit of fear. Well, that was my version of a bardic reading. The irony is that at my age I can't remember things that happened 10 minutes ago, but I cannot forget those parts of the Silmarillion, in my view, Tolkien's greatest work.